Well, hello, everybody. Mark Trowbridge here with our Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce, and it's our second week back in the saddle, and already we've had a change in co-host.
Amen.
Michael Miller is joining us today. Grant is currently indisposed, but as most of you wrote me last week, you were very concerned that he was sitting too close to me, and even if he wasn't coughing or having any type of episode, you worried about his general health. Well, we're all worried about that. I think currently he is in the back, as they would like to say.
What is he doing back there, Mark?
I don't want to say because I think most of you are better off at speculating on what's going on.
Agreed.
But you know, the best email I got was from former Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton, who said, "I was so happy to see you and Grant together, but I'm worried about your health after sitting so close to Grant." And I said, "Sweetie, that makes two of us." Isn't it great? Even though she's out of public office, she's still serving the public.
Yes. And by the way, he's about 70 steps away. So I think that's
well, even in COVID, that would be considered suitable. I don't know how it works with myeloma, but I'll take it.
That looks like a new shirt.
It's not new. It's just it didn't fit before kind of shirt. So it's new to me. It's like a used car that was sitting out back. We put less meat into it.
Do you have three parts of the closet? The really skinny, the ones that can go back and forth, and the really big ones?
Well, yes and no. So I had lost a bit of weight before I got sick and had already kind of taken all of those items to Goodwill maybe a year and a half ago. And I think there were like 30 boxes that we donated. I'm a big time clothes horse. I love clothes. We're blessed to have some great, suit makers and shirt makers and designers in the chamber. And so I've always been blessed to have, great clothes, whether you go to Artigiano or Sartori Amici or back in the day with Mr. Tom James, if you will.
So recently I gave a lot of clothes away to a local charity. And the person I gave them to didn't know it was for me, but suspected it was me. Well,
your fashion is that much of a statement.
So
these must have belonged to Michael Miller.
So she sent a picture of the mom and the child, and with a note, "These are the clothes for her husband. Thank you very much." And it was
kind of a big guy.
Yeah, and it was the first time I had ever seen what happens to stuff when I give it away. And the big smile, nice. It was really very rewarding, and I was really blessed to be able to do that. And the really good news is they were almost all brand new clothes, all right? And
that's the best thing.
Yes, and they were all cleaned, right from the dry cleaner. And then,
not everybody does that. Sometimes they put them in the box, or in my case, they've been probably in the closet and needed to be at least freshened up. They were certainly clean, but needed to be freshened up. But so this is by a designer named Robert Graham, sorry, and one of my favorite guys to wear. He, he's kind of into fun and colorful prints. A lot of it is designer art that's put onto a piece of clothing. And he does have a big and tall line, so I could wear some of his clothes in the big and tall section. But a couple weekends ago, in one of my outings where, I'm trying to get steps in and be out in the fresh air, I went up to Sawgrass to the, the kind of nicer colonnade shops. And they have an outlet store there for Robert Graham. And I got this lovely shirt.
My loving brother told me that if I wore that jacket that I've been wearing for a long time anymore, he's going to take it off me at the event and throw it in the garbage can.
I find that abusive.
So I go over to Macy's. Oh, my God. How come the stuff is so expensive, Mark?
Well, because you didn't buy it 30 years ago, to Grant's point. No, listen, men's clothes never used to be on par or even close to being equal to the way women's clothes were in terms of the number of stores and designers. And I will tell you now, it's quickly evened the balance. When we were up at Sawgrass, I went into Robert Graham. I went into the Penguin store because I love a lot of their, casual polo shirts. We went into this great store called Theory. They have one for men and one for women. The clothes are probably still just a skosh too small for me. I can get the shirt on, but it looks very nipply. And that's not
Thanks
the
for
look.
sharing.
It's not the look we're going for because the fabric is very thin. So,
I like the 2-ply.
in every sense.
So speaking of sharp-looking clothes,
Yeah.
the members of the Coral Gables Chamber is a sharp group of people, right?
Listen, I think they
Intellectually-
you elevate your game. They're very smart. They're very sophisticated. They're very expectant of an experience. I just on the way here had a chance to say hello to a longtime member. She's now with her second company and joined in both of those, and then was bringing in a newer member who had just joined. They'd had coffee down the street. So, I've been away for a few months, and so to get to meet people who maybe joined in the summer, early fall, is really a lot of fun, and reconnect with members. And then Jennifer on our sales team was meeting with a prospective member as well. And so there's a lot of activity. Today is a fun day because we're doing an open house. It's our 98th anniversary today. And so all of that's great sort of synergy coming together. And there's just a lot of excitement about being a member right now.
So we're about to enter the holiday season.
Yes.
So tell us some of the activities that are going to happen at the Coral Gables Chamber.
So, every month we have between 8 and 10 sort of recurring events, everything from, our small business seminars to our trustee events to our big Good Morning Coral Gables breakfast. So those will be on the docket. But as we look toward the holidays, so November is always a kind of a crazy month because you've got the Thanksgiving week, you have a long weekend with Veterans Day. And so in between that, we'll have those regular programs, but we'll also be doing our Diamond Awards, which for our chamber is our most celebrated awards that we do for business. We're putting together an event at Merrick Park for the pre-holiday shopping, kind of the last chance, and there'll be 3 or 4 stores that you'll be able to kind of mingle through. And 2 of those are brand new members of ours, a company called Camilla, which is beautiful women's clothes that is from Australia. And the other is a longtime shoe company called Allen Edmonds. That is a new member of ours that's been in Merrick Park for a while, but it's where I buy all of my dress shoes from, which I love as well. So we have some comments, and we have good afternoon from our good friend George Gonzalez. Marky Mark, good to see me. Good to see you. Is Grant Miller still eating Arbiters? I can't say he's eating it right now, but at least once or twice a week. So George, I know you know this, but there is the Grant Miller dog, which is very bland, which is hard to believe because Dave puts together a great menu of dogs. But it's basically a large wiener, which makes no sense to me, and poorly dressed, which makes complete sense to me. And then you want to have everything with a side of Trowbridge tots, Tro Tots for short, which are delicious. I like them naked, but you can also get them with cheese, chili and cheese. And I have been in the company of both Grant and Michael Miller where not one episode or not one helping is suitable for this episode. You need 2 helpings. And we go through those. We were there a few weeks ago with our friend Wayne Bracken, and it was just a lot of fun. We sit outside, take in the fresh air, and enjoy the tots to our heart's desire. So I'm going to say he's still eating them, just like he's still eating ice cream almost every day.
Amazing that he's so fit.
He is so fit for a young man of his age. But, he turned me on to something that I was not connected to. And so on Mondays when I have treatment, my sugar goes up naturally from the chemotherapy and the steroids. So I tend to eat ice cream on Mondays and Mondays only because I'm going to take an insulin shot anyway to control my sugar. And there's this place called Charlie's in Hialeah that Grant was always talking about. And so almost every Monday, I did not go last night because I wanted to watch the Braves game, but usually they're open till midnight, so I can go late and get myself what's called an avalanche, which I think is kind of like a blizzard, but it's Charlie's, no longer is it a Dairy Queen. And it's divine, vanilla and chocolate swirled with hot fudge in it. And you're going to pop your sugar, but in goes Atlantis into the arm.
Famous chef Michelle Bernstein would be proud of our conversation today.
I hope she's proud of me every day. I'm so excited that she's going to be in Coral Gables here by the end of the year. With Senora Martinez returning, they're in the space right there across from where Fred Astaire Studios is and Ben and Jerry's, right in the heart of downtown. going to be a beautiful space and just a great menu.
I do want to share one experience that I had at Arbetters. Not too long ago, I pulled up to Arbetters. It was on a Sunday. No one's in the parking lot. So I'm sitting out there using my phone. The store's not open yet. The restaurant's not open yet. And they come out and they go, "How can we help you, Mr. Miller?" And I said, "I'd like to get some food to go." "Well, come on in." So I go in. There's nobody in the restaurant.
Which has never happened before.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday.
Always slammed.
Right? No one in the parking lot. I ordered, I want 5 plain dogs. I want 5 all the way. I want some with sauerkraut. I want French fries with chili. I want 3 drinks.
And this was just for you.
I want all this stuff. The kid, 18 years old, behind the counter.
He nailed it.
And it was like almost $60. And he said to me, he's looking at me, there's no cars in the parking lot and nobody in the restaurant except for me. He said, "Sir, is that for here or to go?" And you got it.
Listen, if we can't make fun of each other, then why are we on this planet? You know, it's the greatest antidote to our own stress.
So let's talk about you and the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Right now, how many years have you been serving?
I just started my 18th year.
Which is really incredible. That you.
It is the longest tenure of a chamber president in our history.
Yeah, and tell us why it's working for you and for the people of Coral Gables.
So I'll answer that in 2 ways. I think the first way is just there is a strong belief in continuity of leadership. And so I do think people have a sense of confidence in us, the team that we've built, the board that we have working with us each and every day. And I do think people rely upon that in terms of, if I'm going to spend $575 or if I'm going to spend $3,000, I want to know that, I'm doing that wisely. And then over those 18 years and even preceding us, we've had, a strong work ethic. We've had a strong commitment to businesses of all sizes. When I got to the chamber 18 years ago, we had a leader for 14 years who had been a very long-serving president. At that time was the longest serving, and then a president that was with us for about 3 or 4 years, and then I came in. And really today, it would surprise me if you'd say you're starting your 18th year, where I'd say, those are jobs that are probably 3 to 5 years. They're very high burnout. They're very high churn because you're always on and you're always on the go. But we built something, I think, special. We brought back things that we had gotten away from, some of our core values, I think, with small business, women's business, our restaurants, especially in Coral Gables, and have built profiles around those kind of inside the chamber. I'd answer it a little bit differently over the last 4 or 5 months when I would say that I have now seen our leadership and membership in a very special way, which is showing a great amount of compassion and concern and kindness, even towards me personally. People have always been very lovely, but it's gone to a level of where the bond we have formed over those 18 years was really laid bare in terms of seeing how authentic and important it was. And people have said to me, you're out and about now more than you were. And, I'm still taking all the precautions that, the doctors want me to. But part of my healing is being around the people who have that faith and trust in us, who lift me up. I draw so much of my energy from those folks. And they may not ever realize it, but a short text message or a note or an email, it's pretty incredible. It happens many, many times. And I was teasing you before we went on the air. I said, people were so excited that, the headline was, "I'm back," and not back completely, but I'm back to at least, some of the things I was able to do. So
one of the things that I've seen with the chamber, you give equal attention to all the members, not just to the big guys,
sure,
but all the way through into the guy that's just like, he goes to Coral Gables Chamber and he joins, and he's a small business as compared to some very large businesses. And sometimes that can be intimidating, but there's something that you do to make that better and more comforting for him. One, where did you learn that? And two, how do you do that?
So, I think you learn that in the way you're brought up and the values that, are instilled at a very young age. And that was that, you want to treat everybody as you want to be treated. It is very much the golden rule that way. But the other thing I would tell you is having sort of a Midwest upbringing. And even when we moved to Florida when I was in high school, it took a lot to, sort of maintain that sort of, authenticity. And a number of years ago, I was meeting with our PR team and I said, when you're out there talking about the chamber or me as the leader, and I was relatively new back then, what is it that you like working with? Because we have to have a, symbiosis. And they said that every time we connect with you, you're very honest, you're very authentic, and that goes a long way with people. And that really has worked all of those years. That isn't a skill that I think you have to learn. It can be honed, it can be increased, but I think it has to be there. And I learned early on in our chamber, because I went and I had a list of people I wanted to meet in that first 3 to 6 months. And it probably took more than that time. I wanted to meet with past leaders of our chamber. I wanted to meet with disgruntled folks who had left us and I had heard stories about and wanted to know what we could do to get them to come back, or had we said something or done something. Sometimes an apology is all people wanted. The other part of that equation, I think, had a lot to do with you just make the time to do that. And so I remember sitting down with folks from Total Bank back when they were, at one point had been very involved. Adrian Arsht was their chair of the board. And they had abruptly left the chamber over, some disagreements. And it took me a while to get a meeting. I had to go through a side door with a friend who worked there, but was like, I don't know if I want to stick my neck out for you. I love you. My wife loves you. We were both on the University of Florida alumni board. And I'd been at the chamber since August. I got that meeting in December, like really late December. Like, I'm like, is anybody even going to be there? It's like almost Christmas, right? And the meeting wasn't with Bill Heffernan, who was the lovely president of the bank at the time. He was there, but he had like 15 people come to the meeting. It was this huge boardroom, not Ms. Arsht, but everybody else, including my friend who had stuck his neck out. And he spent the first 10 minutes telling me all the things that we had done wrong. And listen, we had made mistakes, especially in that relationship. And all I said to him is, listen, I can only promise you one thing. That will never happen again, because A, I'm not like that. And 2, if that happened on my watch, there would be heads rolling. And that's all I can tell you today. And I'm sorry you went through that, but I love that you brought everybody here, because I'm assuming that means you're going to rejoin and this is the team you want to be engaged. And he says, that's exactly what we're doing.
So you were fortunate that he was able to open up to you, because so often people go away.
Well, he told me, he goes, I've never had somebody who didn't give up. Like, you'd email me like a week and I would ignore you. And then you'd say, well, I'll let you know. Because he wanted to run it by his higher ups, which at this point was one person. He reported to the chair of the board, right? And, at the time we're talking about $2,000 commitment. Well, they went on at that point to not only take that membership, but they added additional people, like another 10 people. So that's another $2,500. And then they took the title sponsorship of one of our major events, because he said, I have your word and I'm going to hold you to that. And we had a beautiful relationship right up until the time they were bought in by City National Bank, who at the time, and still is our banking relationship. So it just goes to show you, one, Midwesterners are generally very patient compared to typical Miamians. Now, I have my typical Miami impatience as well, but I can always get back to that Toledo, Ohio boy if I need to work. I sent an email to our salesperson this morning and I said, pie in the sky, and I spelled pie, P-I. And I said, by March 14th, which is National Pie Day, so we're giving ourselves basically 4 to 5 months, here are 10 members, or 10 potential members. We've never gotten to join the chamber, but I believe in you and I believe in us, and we want to get all of them by Pie Day, because they're our pie in the sky. And those are big companies that, you're familiar with and that are coming here, like FIFA, like riders coming to Coral Gables. I want them all to become trustees of our chamber, and we're going to work collaboratively. And
to set that goal for the chamber and to some very specific person really goes to your leadership skills.
I think any leader who is not leaned into what the future looks like is already, sort of lost their way. And it does drive my staff a little bit crazy, because in many cases, what we want them to do is thinking about what's happening today at 5 o'clock, because we have an event and it's being hosted by a longtime high-level invested member. For our other high-level invested members, it's also our birthday today, and they're opening a new space. So there's a lot of confluence of energy and synergy there. But the flip side of that is we still got to be thinking about March of 2024. And the best part about that is I know that our salesperson, that will resonate with her and with us working together. And I said, by the way, add to the list, because it should be 14 for our Pie Day on 3/14.
So tell us about some of the members, from small ones to really large ones.
So, I grew up the son of a teacher and an entrepreneur. My dad was, a franchisee for Wendy's. We've talked about that on this show before. I just wrote an article for you all about how disgraced I am that there's a pumpkin spice Frosty. There is no such thing, even though I love pumpkin spice. A Frosty is a chocolate shake you eat with a spoon. It was in 1975 when Dave Thomas created it, and it is in 2023. So, mind blown. But, in essence, they were both small business people. My mother had a classroom year after year, and those were her clients. And my dad had 6 of his Wendy's with, 20 or so staff, 25 in each of those. So small business owners. And so, I look at our restaurants as being like very close to my heart, because my first job when I was 9 years old was working at Wendy's, pulling drinks out of the fountain, and working at the pickup window. And then, the same way about our retailers, because, there's a natural relationship there. But I'm also very comfortable being in the room like we were that day with Total Bank with, 15 executives who I'm sure 13 minutes before I arrived were told, we're mad at the chamber and, this guy's not going to be able to win us over.
So can people look if they're nervous or they get intimidated? What are some things that you could recommend to somebody? Because obviously you can go that whole gamut. What can you recommend to them?
Again, I look at the chamber as, we're the second largest chamber in the Tri-County area, but how can you make that manageable? And what I would tell you is we're sort of at that size of about 1,600 members. It's pretty perfect. There are, Greater Miami Chamber is bigger than we are, and there are lots of chambers that are smaller than we are. And I think all of us try to find that sweet spot that we can operate in. For us, because we can take it out in what I call sort of, edible bites, whether it's looking at the membership in terms of, we never used to have a restaurant level membership, but we went from 16 members because they were paying the same rate as, a small CPA firm, to a specialized membership. We did that my first year. And now we have over 60.
So that was to allow the restaurants who've obviously they're
different benefits.
Yes, yeah. and that when they go in, I mean when they're $2,000 or $2,000 or $500, whatever, it means more to them for that average Miracle Mile restaurant. Yeah, absolutely.
And they're getting a different level of benefits that work better for them. Restaurateurs aren't going to come to Good Morning Coral Gables, which is our big networking event every month, because it's at 7:30 in the morning, and they've probably closed up the night before at midnight or later, because most of our restaurants are small businesses of 5 to 10, folks that are working there. A lot of times you're at the door, you're in the kitchen, you're doing everything. You're the marketing person. I think of some of our smaller restaurants. I look at what like Nick Sharp does with his 3 restaurants. It's nothing short of amazing because he's everywhere in all of those. But I also have, again, that soft spot. I love to, go and visit with them. We just had a restaurant meeting 2 weeks ago, and it was a full house over at John Martin's. And we pitched them some ideas. They're not new ideas. They're things we did before COVID, or that we've elevated, or that we've created out of a new business proposal. So, we're starting a food tour. There have been food tours in Little Havana and Miami Beach and other cities for years. Anytime I go to a city, New York, Charleston, Savannah, Nashville, I take a food tour.
Who goes on the tour? The members?
Members, visitors, any folks like that are welcome to be a part of it.
David Winker's in the house.
I gave him a winker. So it's the first time we've done it. We pitched it at the restaurant meeting. I said, I don't know who will sign up. We had half the room raise their hands.
That's wonderful.
So in less than 2 weeks, we put together a foodie tour. And I'll tell you real quickly. You meet at the chamber. We go to Bay 13. You have a bite to eat there, and you get a tour of the tanks. Breweries are big in South Florida. That's a cross-section of our membership.
What gentleman will we see over there?
You'll probably see Nick, or you might see the brewmaster.
All right.
Questions. Mark, have you tried the new bakery at the Plaza? I have not been there because I haven't been out to a lot of restaurants, but I hear wonderful things. I think that we did a ribbon cutting for them, George, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was very, very well attended, and folks said the food was amazing. So you'll hear more about them, as we continue to develop these relationships. So back to the food tour. We'll go to Bay 13, then we'll go to Graziano's, and they'll eat 2 empanadas. And you'll hear a little bit about the Latin influence and the Latin culture, not just through Argentina, but, being there and having empanadas, which are in every culture. Sometimes they're baked, sometimes they're fried. Notice I'm doing my homework. Then we're going to go down Restaurant Road, Giralda Plaza.
And do you drive there? You walk?
We walk.
Okay.
It's not that much of a distance, but it's over 2 hours and 45 minutes. Sushi Maki is going to host us. We're going to talk about sustainability because that's a big part of their business model. Of course, fresh seafood, etc. Then we're going to Peephole Pizza on Miracle Mile. So you'll get a little bit of the history of the city, the retail, the other restaurants down Miracle Mile. We're going to go to Peephole Pizza. Everybody loves pizza, shared experience, and they have now for the last 3 years had on their menu a Coral Gables pizza, which is white sauce, gorgonzola, hot honey. It's delicious. Then we're going to end at Books and Books, cortadito and key lime pie, because that is who we are. And then you stay there to shop, and we wish you well. So you can sign up for that tour right now on our website. It's also on Eventbrite. Just type in Coral Gables Foodie Tour. It's this Friday. It's from 2 o'clock till about 4:45. And don't eat lunch because there's food literally at every single stop.
Bring baggy pants with you.
Well, that's all I own at this point.
By the way, George Gonzalez is going to be in the house on Friday. He has a show at 11 o'clock.
Oh, good. And George, do me a favor. Remind me the name of the restaurant because I do have a little bit of brain fog from treatment that we did the grand opening for because they are a member. I know I came up with the other two at Merrick Park, but that'll help me along greatly.
So this is the time of the year that a lot of people gain 6 pounds between about 2 weeks. For people that have been fat, all right, gaining 6 pounds, you could do like in 3 days or 4 days without a problem.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I weigh myself every day now because as part of treatment and with swelling and stuff, and making sure I'm eating. Every morning I weigh myself and I try to be I'm always naked because I feel like that's my best foot forward. And after I've used the bathroom in the morning. I know all the hacks.
We need that extra
so
8 ounces.
I weighed 291 pounds, which is actually up a couple pounds because I'm on steroids. So I'm a little swollen, but I'm super thrilled that I have been under 300 pounds through this entire journey every day, which is where I want to be. And I want to be even less.
Well, we'll take it easy over the holidays, but we're going to get.
What's your biggest, crutch during the holidays? Is it sweets? Is it just overeating in general?
Overeating between 4 and 8.
That's the worst time of day.
Yeah, that's usually it. So I'm pretty careful now, and I use high protein bars. Really, it sort of kills the appetite. Yeah. It does pretty good at that. And being there are only 2 of us in the house now, I said, don't bring in the other food. Just don't bring it and make it.
You guys have the grandkids over too. They
do.
Like that stuff.
I know. My wife hides the candy.
So Halloween's a big problem for me because I love. Sweet Paris. Thank you, George.
Oh, way to go, George.
Because I know there's Bistro Cafe. That is not in the plaza, but is very popular as well in the Gables.
All right,
Great pancakes.
Your show is how often is your show here?
Well, right now we've done 2 back-to-back. And, I'm trying to see how I'm feeling. I'm going to go, day by day. I'm back on chemo for 3 cycles because we're trying to get one number down a little bit further because the next step for me is getting a bone marrow transplant. I actually have seen the doctor since we last did the show and kind of know the plan. And that's about a 3-month process of, really isolating, sort of what I did in the very beginning. Yep. Right now my white blood cell count is almost normal, which is incredible. But that's because my disease when I got diagnosed was between 60 and 70% penetration. And now it's 10 to 15%. So the therapy is working. But we want to get that number down to 0 or 1, which is remission. And for me, because of the way, I'm responding and my overall general health, that the key is to do with my own cells, replace and get rid of all of the bad blood cells. So
we've just got a minute left.
Yeah.
So
the overtime's always the best part, brother. Well, so people are listening for. By the way, I want to thank all of you that watched. Not necessarily live last week, but went back and watched. I got so many emails and texts from people that they were so happy to see Grant and I together and the banter, including David Lawrence, Just very sweet comments and appreciating, the journey we're
You
on.
and Grant have a special relationship, and I know
We
him.
do.
And he's in the back. He's going to be wrapping up in a minute. So we're going
If
to.
not, I'm just going to barge in back
I
there.
think that would be a good idea. I think we should do that together.
Do you have some Febreze?
So
I think Alex even laughed at that. I saw
Okay.
his eyes crinkle. up
okay,
over
so
there.
why don't you take us out?
Yeah, so folks, I just want to remind you that, of course, our chamber is celebrating 98 years, which is incredible. We had an open house today, and on Friday, we're going to do a walkabout the downtown and conclude with the foodie tour. But 98 years of doing anything is remarkable. But most importantly, the great relationships and partnerships like we have with the city of Coral Gables, our friends here at Community News, and all across South Florida really keeps, my energy up, and I'll speak very personally, is helping me in my healing process. So check us out, coralgableschamber.org. We got lots of great events. As you heard from Michael, we're moving into our busy season, but even coming out into the new year, we've got a lot in store for you in 24. I met a young lady today who would come to events all the time, but finally joined a few weeks ago. And I said, well, we didn't put too much pressure. She goes, you didn't, but the other members did. And I said, well, that's what we pay them to do. At the end of the day, the reason we've been around as long as we've been around, as successful as we've been, is because we really do care about our members. They're part of our extended family. There's a lot of tough things going on in the world right now. All of our minds and hearts are around Israel and what's happening there. We have lots of members that's affecting. So at the end of the day, we got to put our arms around our entire family, embrace them, and remind them that, this is all voluntary. But I get up each day knowing that we're making a difference for our businesses, for our community, and for each and every one of you. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you, Mark.